Hey guys, it's Jamie here and I'm back with the third page of our flip book. For this page I haven't lined anything yet because I want to add some gatefolds onto it. I think I'll be adding them onto the card actually, and then doing something over the top to cover them up. Also we have a bottom one and a top one, so it will open that way, that way, that way, that way. Okay, let me give you some measurements. Two side pieces are initially, because I've already scored them, 7.5 centimeters or 3 inches. Then I've scored in on 1 centimeter, which is just under half an inch, and the same on this side. Lengthways they are 12 centimeters or 4 3/4 inches. That's your two side pieces. Your top piece, 12 centimeters, 4 3/4 inches. Then you have your score at 1 centimeter or just under half an inch, and the width is 7.5, which is your 3 inches. Bottom piece is 6 centimeters, 2.5 inches. The score comes off that, and width wise is 7.5 centimeters. Once you have them scored down that centimeter line or that half-inch line, you need to make sure, because I have cornered mine, that you have the corners on the left and the corners on the right. If you see that, with all these scores, one thing to do is to cut them at a little angle. This does not have to be that accurate because it will not be seen. So every single score area cut up a little angle. With your papers for these pieces, I'm going to cut mine so there is a small border of the black showing underneath. You can just cover completely if you prefer. And see, it will sit on this one. But before we put anything down on the top and bottom one, the flip over for the top needs a piece of paper. Because this one's going over onto this one, first thing I want to do is place a magnet on here. The way you separate magnets is you slide them. You don't try and pull them apart. So you do a sliding motion from magnet to magnet. The best way I've seen them attached, I've used wet glue before, but it took forever to dry. And then I saw someone using double-sided tape. Because they're going under paper, it doesn't matter if the double-sided tape is too big. What they did was they put double-sided tape on the magnet. Then they decided roughly where the two things would meet, and they attached the magnet, not quite centre, but it doesn't really matter, to be fair. So then what they did was they put a piece of double-sided tape onto this top of the magnet. So you've got two magnets here, one sitting on top of the other. This is going to go over the top of this one. This will go underneath, so they would meet there. And then you have to try to pull your magnets apart. They are now lined up with each other, and you can put your paper backing on that you've just cut, which will cover your magnet. We will test this and see if they attract. Yes, they do. With your other pieces then, with the alternative sides, and both sides of your side pieces, you want to be covering those as well. Everything is now covered and will all fit inside each other. When you open it up, this is what it looks like currently, and then that's the inside. Not very exciting. Therefore, we're going to add some extra flips, tucks, pockets, something along those lines to every bit that opens. So for example, on this one, I'm thinking of adding a flip up. So I've got that bend there. Take a little bit off. Going to glue this one down, clip that into place. Now it's covering this, which is fine, but we'll need something underneath. It's this little service check. I'm going to glue it on 3 sides and have a small tuck spot here. I've pulled out a few pieces to do a collage at the bottom of this to cover up these bits of paper that are going everywhere. So I thought if we did a diagonal across the bottom of there, you can still get into that tuck spot if you just put something little in there. Him across there, number going that way, get that so there's no gaps. Fiddle around to line him up, clip him in place while he dries. We need to think about what will fit in here. It's got to be a little something. We could slip another piece of paper in that just flips out. You could either have that flip out as a writing spot, or you could make a small belly band. The way I disguise any lack of straightness in the lines is to add corners, rounded corners to things, and that does tend to hide it a little bit. I think it's kind of fun to have it flip and just put something on that. As I don't want it to get too masculine looking, I've pulled out a flower. For this flip down, I've discovered that that picture and that frame actually fit. So I will glue those two together for that bit. And this one was going to slip into here. We need to put some glue on it and then line it up to wherever we want it to line up to. Let's work on the opposite side. And I think for this one we will do the slipped photo frame, which is a favourite of mine. We have the frame straight and then we do it like the portrait has slipped out of the frame. Glue round the frame, stick it on the portrait at an angle, and then we cut off the excess and cut round that again. So if that was to go there, we could put a pocket on this bit. We could take an advert of some sort and fold it up so that we hinge the pocket so it's got a bit of depth to it. It's going to be about 1 centimetre off each side to hinge it, and 1 centimetre at the bottom. Cutting those bits out to remove some of the bulk. Again, angle it. That will definitely fit on there. On this pocket, to jazz it up a bit, I'm going to layer up some small scraps of material. The button and a word. Yeah, just glue all of that into place. This should now be dry enough to trim up. So all the trimming doesn't show up. Edge along in black. If you want extra contrasting layers, you do have the space to add another piece of paper behind this. Have this nice William Morris Victorian style print. I've cut this into a flag style point or a chevron, sticking this at the very top of that page. I'm going to put on there slightly higher up, so hopefully you'll see that point. Right, I'm going to take a bit more off this bottom piece because I don't think you're going to see that little point. Now, having made that pocket a bit smaller, you should now see the little point on there, which you do, which I like. So I'm going to glue the pocket down next. This little pocket, I've backed some tickets with coffee stained paper and we'll be popping those in there. This is actually the front. I feel this one is fine as it is. It's quite decorative. This one looks like it needs some kind of layering. I have Paper Doll of Stalin, and I was thinking of putting more layers on, but actually I quite like the simplicity of just sticking the paper doll on top of the advert. Let's put those to one side for a moment and look at our top and bottom. That's the front, that's the inside when you open them out. This one, I think a central picture and a tuck spot or a pocket. I'm going to put the old-fashioned advert on the background, top it with the lace and leave it slightly open so it can act as a mini tuck spot. To attach the lace, I'll be using some silicone glue at the very edge of the card. When that's fully dry, the excess will be trimmed off. For the bottom inside, I found this bit of scrap napkin. I'm going to pop this down using Mod Podge, putting a layer on here, the torn napkin over, putting a layer on top. I'll put the message on while that Mod Podge is still wet and protect it by putting Mod Podge over it. Dry this off. I'm going to tear the edges. To make that stand out, I have my Stabilo, touch of water, and that's the reason I needed to protect the surface with the Mod Podge, because I wanted to Stabilo around this. Have the front cover of these. What am I going to do? I'm enjoying adding the photos because I'm seeing this more like a photo album junk journal than, or a smash book rather than a junk journal. I'm going to cut this so it will fit on top of the front cover and then glue just 3/4 of the frame around so that you can tuck a photo in yourself. So the person receiving it knows what this is for. There's a very faint print of a camera, didn't come out that well, on a spare piece of paper that I've clipped there, so you can take the paper away and put a photograph in there, and then it flips up and you have a tuck spot here. On here we just need a small something. I am tempted to do some lace and maybe not much else, just put some lace on there. Want the magnet clear. While everything's drying, just to show you, I've added these two parts to one of the backings, so they would open like that. Obviously we've yet to do the top and the bottom, and that was simply by gluing them to the back. I'm not happy with this, so I'm going to turn it over, stain it on this side with some vintage photo, and try again with printing that camera on it. I've glued everything onto here. Now with these two I glued them around the back, but these two it worked better to glue them to the actual piece, which means that now something has to be done with the inside because you can see the hinging. I'm just wondering if we've got anything that might fit in there as a picture that will cover that up. I'm going to keep the decoration on this inside cover relatively simple. I will take 2 strips of paper, line them up along here, and put a large flower over. I don't know if I should get a better cut flower or a person. Maybe a person. I prefer her. I think she is more in keeping with the general feel of this album, because when this goes on this, it's going to be too thick to punch those holes through. I'm going to sit this lower on the base, therefore I want to glue over a little something that we do punch through, so you're not just looking at plain craft card behind that. Much to my relief, the magnet is still working despite all the thick layers. I've now glued our design to the base page. As you can see, I redid the camera. When we open it up, I've put in here a tag that I'd previously made with a masterboard and just adapted to add a strip of the coordinating paper and a wee man. This comes out, obviously it can be unclipped. When we open it up, because it's magnetized, I've included one of the calling cards I did a long time ago, which is on my YouTube channel under the Interesting Ideas playlist, if you want to know how to make those calling cards, because they are pretty cool, I must admit. You have your little pocket with your tickets in here that are removable and your different flips over here. So I think that makes quite an interesting second design that we've done. The next video we will be reversing it and working on this side, so those holes need to be at the bottom, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.